Just yesterday, I was reflecting upon the fact that things were not selling on the platform. I made this video. I was a little bit depressed about it because the idea is when you have stuffs listed online, you want to see these items selling as soon as possible because costs that are mounting, there's the rents to pay, there's the electricity bills to pay. I was just sitting down here, kind of low-key making this video, but I knew down within me that this wasn't the first time, neither is going to be the second time when stuffs like this happen. And when things like this happen, you want to do something else. Yes, I did do something else. Took a look at the things I could kind of, fix. Took a look finally at my warehouse, the debt piles, and I was saying to myself, some of these things, it's high time you leave this warehouse. You've been sitting here long enough. You just have to leave. You see, I was just telling this to myself, but little did I know that eBay had a different plan. Monitors here, boom, sold. These are decent monitors I've had listed for some time. Of course, I wasn't in any way thinking that these monitors were not going to sell. As a matter of fact, I still have other monitors, but these ones right here, they were just looking, excellent. I knew that the company was going to come around because when I did take a look at the eBay listings, I had actually the best price. And this is one thing I tend to want to tell you guys about. Try to strive to have the best price because when you have done that, guys, I'm telling you, the sales are ultimately going to come. It could last, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But I'm telling you, it will ultimately come. See, a company came around and bought these monitors. Not one, not two, but 3 of them. Sold for a pretty decent price. I was pretty much shocked because I had barely uploaded the video that I made yesterday. Only for now, pretty much eBay kind of heard my cry. They heard the fact that these items have been listed on the platform. They need to find their rightful owner. So possibly this company saw it and said, you know what, we're going to drop about 600 euros for these monitors and we are going to make a seller right there on the other side happy. This was what they did. Beautifully, this wasn't a customer that was going to stress me. Buyer left a note asking me, hey, if it's going to be possible for you to ship it out today, that would be super fine. When I saw it, I felt like this was a good time for me to impress these buyers because I always say on my videos, the best buyers you can have are repeat buyers. And one of the best repeat buyers are companies, people that buy this stuff for business purposes. Of course, the private buyers, they also have a way of, coming back to your shop whenever they need something. But a business buyer, when you identify that this buyer is a business buyer, there is every possibility that they might come back, buy more monitors. Maybe not just monitors, they could buy PCs, they could buy laptops, they could buy keyboard. When I saw it that this buyer was actually asking me to ship out this monitor just today, I said, I don't have to think twice about it. I am going to go ahead and do it. Of course, I brought out the monitors, took a look at them. One thing I always want to do is to make sure that the monitors are tested over again. Even though they've already been tested before, putting them in the warehouse, something can easily go wrong. With electronic items, you can never be too sure. And this was exactly what I did because as the saying goes, once bitten, twice shy. I've had situations where even though an item was fully functional when I kind of stored it, bringing it out or ship it out, was all sort of drama. The item wouldn't come up. Even if it came up, with some flickering on the screen. I didn't want that to happen in this particular case. So what I did do was to test it again. I tested to make sure that all 3 monitors were working, and not just testing it, you also have to give it that fresh little clean, which I pretty much did. And cleaning these monitors, like I always say, if you already have items looking in the best condition, it's not going to cost you an arm or a foot to actually clean them. Cleaning them is just going to be an easy ride, and the reason is not far-fetched. There are no terrible scratches. There are no annoying stains on the monitor. These are monitors that I have listed as, grade A monitors. And if you know the grading of electronic hardwares, you can pretty much tell that grade A hardwares are supposed to be in excellent condition. Of course, I participate in the eBay Refurbished program, and when I say these are excellent looking monitors, they just pretty much have to be like that. Of course, the work doesn't stop, from you just cleaning the monitors. A lot of people kind of underestimate the amount of effort that goes into packing stuffs like this. One little attempt, to pack it wrongly could result in you, losing a lot of money because each of these monitors, like they cost well over 200 euros. And if I want to be cheap on the packaging materials, I am ultimately going to be sorry, because I pretty much know that the shipping companies, like, they have kind of lost it. Most of the workers, even though the company overall has, good intentions, for sellers, people shipping their items, but sometimes the workers being very disgruntled. Some of them, of course, not all of them. Some of them just have a way of just handling this stuff. And even though you have done your own part in packing the monitors properly, because of their carelessness, the items could still be broken during transportation. Given that I know this, I didn't stop at anything in making sure that these monitors were fully packed. Bubble wraps, packaging paper, whatever, padding on the side, the best cartons you can think of. And the thing that kept happening over and over and again, a little bit annoying, was the fact that I needed to be changing my sellotapes over and over and again. I kind of have a very good sellotape that I use for the cartons. I have sellotapes for the bubble wraps. I also have, a sellotape notifying the potential, person that's going to handle this packet that, look, the items within the box are very fragile. And a long time ago, I wasn't doing this, and I realized that there was kind of a disconnect between, myself shipping these fragile items, the person that's going to handle it, and even the person that's going to take delivery of this packet. But ever since I started using the sellotape, I realized that there have been reduced incidences of packages being destroyed during transportation. I don't know if this is what helped, but I just kept changing my sellotape, not once, not twice. And after a while, I really felt tired of doing this. And one thing I naturally have to do this week is just to make sure I get additional tape dispensers, so that this problem, or me having to waste a lot of time changing my tapes, or because I have just one dispenser, is going to be gone. And definitely I have to do that this week. You see, everything I did for one monitor, I did for the second, and pretty much did for the third. But at the end of the day, after flexing some few muscles, which is something I kind of enjoy doing, because if you do not enjoy packaging electronic hardwares, this is definitely going to be something that you cannot do on a sustainable level. I kind of enjoy this. I have been doing this from way back, and each time I have to pack a new hardware, I am pretty much excited about it. And because of that, I can do it pretty much all day long. Of course, in doing this, one thing you should never forget is the accessories that goes with the monitor, because if you attempt to forget this, you are going to be sorry. The buyer is going to receive the item only for the buyer to bring it out and realize that there are no cables, there are no power cables, the display port cable, the HDMI cable, whatever cable you are including in the offer is not there, and they're not going to be excited about that. And if the buyer is a little bit disgruntled, he or she might actually go onto eBay and leave you a review just because of that. Because I know this, I always had to make sure that all my cables were on point, cleanly folded, so that if the buyer is to open this box, he or she sees that somebody has pretty much done a very good job in making sure that these monitors were delivered. Of course, I did do this once again 3 times, each time making sure that a box had a power cable and a DisplayPort cable. But this time around, I didn't have to include the invoice in the box, because the buyer also specially requested that the invoice be sent per mail. And this is one of the things that's peculiar to business buyers, because the department that is responsible for the bookkeeping is pretty much different from the person actually giving the go-ahead for the item to be purchased. And having done that, it was time to kind of relax, took the items to the post office. Whenever the items have been dropped off, it's always a very big, sigh of relief. I came back to the warehouse. This time around, it was all manner of disruptions, waste papers on the floor, the bubble wraps was all over the place. I still took time off to, clean the warehouse and prepare for the next day, because if you do not do that, you're going to be coming to a warehouse that is pretty much, turned upside down just because of the previous day's activities. And I have learned my lessons the hard way. It's always better, even though I'm already very tired, to still come around, spend a few minutes, make sure the warehouse is prepared for the next day's action. What a decent transaction, if you ask me. This is also a lesson for you out there. If you sell on eBay, or if you are pretty much thinking of selling your stuff on eBay, there might be times where things are not selling. Do not give up. Do not be discouraged. And even if you feel a little bit discouraged because the items that you have listed, you pretty much thought that they were going to be sold as soon as they were listed, do not be discouraged. Sometimes some of the items that you list might take days, some might take months, and some even might be sold in a matter of minutes. I'm very much excited now, given that this ancient platform on which we sell on, which is eBay, has never disappointed. And this is exactly the reason why we keep bringing stuffs like this to this platform. Responsible hardwares, monitors, desktop PCs, laptops, the list goes on and on and on. We keep bringing this stuff to this platform because when we have done our own part in making sure that these items are listed, carefully photographed, tested, and made sure that everything is working perfectly, eBay pretty much takes over. They are going to do the heavy liftings of making sure that the potential buyer sees this stuff, and they're going to stop at nothing, continuously showing these items, to millions of buyers all over the world until somebody goes out there, click on the buy it now button, and you hear that exciting sound, churn, which means you have made a sale. Until I see you again in the next video, peace out.